Hello everyone. So Amazon just launched its new AWS Malaysia region, and I guess to celebrate, I'm gonna teach you guys how you wanna host your Laravel web application on the AWS Malaysia region. Plus, I'll also be using Docker to deploy it, because nowadays a lot of jobs really prefer these two skills together. So you know what, alalang, let's just try to stand out by using Docker. So let's start. At the moment, I'm in the dashboard of AWS. If you haven't created an account, you can simply create an account. Then on the top right here, you will see the region for everywhere in the world. And right now, I'm in Malaysia. If it's not appearing under this section, you can simply click on Manage Region, and I believe they will give like a sample authentication for you to allow for Malaysia region. And after that, just simply click on Malaysia region and we're good to go. So now let's launch our EC2 instance by clicking on EC2 and just launch instance. So in the name, you can name whatever you prefer. I'm just gonna name it Laravel web application. For application and OS image, we can leave it to Amazon Linux. And under Amazon machine image, we're gonna select the second option, which is Amazon Linux 2 Army, free tier eligible. So the Linux 2 Army is a good choice for most general purpose application and service, and since also it's a free tier. Next, we can leave the architecture as x86. So unless your machine has an ARM architecture, then it's more preferred to use ARM, but in most cases, even ARM architecture can run at x86, so I'm just going to leave it as x86. For the instant type, we're just going to leave it to the free tier. Next, we can create our key pair. So this is how you authenticate to your EC2 instance. So I already create one key pair over here, so I'm just going to use my default key pair. You can simply create your own and save it under the same directory of your web application if you prefer it, or anywhere that is secured. So now in network settings, this configuration allows you to control who can access your EC2 instance. So since it's not a production environment, we're just going to be allowing SSH traffic from anywhere, and we're also going to be allowing HTTP traffic for our web server, just ensuring it works by sending a GET request on port 80. And for storage, you can leave it under 30 gigs, and we're just going to launch instance. And there we go. We got our instance running. Now, we can select the instance ID right here and make sure the state says running. So then select connect, so that we can currently now try to connect the EC2 instance with our bash terminal. So just head over to your bash terminal in your Laravel project. So this is my current sample project. And inside your terminal, just copy this command SSH. So what this does is connect our SSH terminal into our bash terminal. So let's just paste that. So a few things to change here. Under the mykeypair.pem here, make sure you change to the directory of your PEM file. So wherever you put your PEM file, for instance, mine is put under this directory here, just insert that directory under this double quotation mark. And the root here, we're going to change to the default username of our Linux 2 Army, which is EC2-user. So next, we're going to change the IP address here to our own public IP address. So you can simply get that public IP inside your instant ID. So right here. And after that, just simply type in yes. So if you see a logo like this bird here, then yeah, you have simply connect to the SSH terminal. You can also see that the bash has been changed to SSH. And if you want to get back your bash terminal, just click on the plus or any terminal you want, and you can change in between terminal. Now we want to run a few series of commands here to just set up our SSH terminal. So first is the sudo yum update, which is to update with the latest software updates and security patches. And next, we're going to install Docker under this EC2 terminal. So simply copy this command and enter. Then simply click on Y. So now we're going to start Docker using this EC2 box so that the Docker service is up and running. So we're just going to paste in this command, sudo service docker start, enter. And the next step is we should modify our user permission for EC2 user who is signed in as to grant access. So we don't have to run sudo every time you want to do some Docker commands, which saves a lot of time. So this is the command that we should paste and enter. Next, we can check the directory of our EC2 instance, and currently it's under the EC2 user directory. So we can create a new directory just for our project. So make directory Laravel, and we can simply cd to our new directory. Now let's switch to our bash terminal, and we're just gonna paste in this. So what this does is basically modify the directory permission of this PEM file, so we can use it to authenticate inside the EC2 instance. So click on enter. Alright, so make sure wherever you put your PEM file is under the correct directory. So currently it's not under the correct directory, if we can see from pwd. So I'm just going to go back one directory and run it again, and there you go. So now we're going to securely transfer and synchronize the content of our local directory from our web app Laravel to the EC2 instance. But before that, we have to create two new files, which is a Docker file and a docker compose.yaml. So I already create a sample Docker file right here. So depending on what framework you use, programming language you use, and also the database type. So for instance, I'm using PHP Laravel with MySQL database. So you can simply just ask ChatGPT to prompt a basic script like this, where it defines the environment in which your application will run, including all the dependencies, configuration, and commands needed to run your application. So if you're familiar with Laravel, this is basically all the ones that's needed to run the framework. And usually if your application is for local development, testing, or a simple production deployment without scaling, I think a basic script like this will do. So simply just click on copy and just insert within your Docker file. And inside your docker compose.yaml, same thing, you can ask ChatGPT to prompt your basic docker compose YAML for Laravel. So these steps depends on your web application language and framework as well, and also the type of database you're using. So basically this docker compose file define a simple environment where a Laravel application, which is the app service, and a MySQL database, the MySQL service, are hosted on Docker. So after we set up both of these files, we're going to securely transfer content from our application directory, which is from our local machine, to the directory of our EC2 instance, which is the SSH terminal. So you're going to copy this command right here. It's a bit long. Basically after the rsync-avz-e, under this double quotation mark right here is the directory of your PEM file. So just ssh-i and then the directory of your PEM file. And after that is the directory of your web application, which is currently my Laravel application. And after that is the username of our Linux army, as well as the public IP address, and now the directory of the EC2 instance, where we create a new, you remember the directory of Laravel. So let me just change that real quick to Laravel. So this is how we transfer everything from our local directory for our web application into the EC2 instance terminal, which is the SSH terminal. So simply click on enter and type in yes. So after it's done, we can simply click on our SSH terminal and ls to check the file that has been transferred, which is the test file, and cd in that directory, and ls again, and there you have it. All the source code and everything which is from our local now is to the SSH terminal. So now what we're going to do is start our application, which is the docker compose up-d, but currently it's not available because it means that the docker compose is not installed on our EC2 instance. So docker compose is a separate tool from Docker itself, and it needs to be installed manually on most systems. So let's just download the latest version of docker compose using this command and enter. After downloading the docker compose, you need to set the executable permission on the binary. So just type this in and enter. So now if we run it again, it shouldn't come out any error. And currently it's building the application for the MySQL as well for the app, which is our Laravel application, web application. And after it's done, we can simply check on the Docker images by typing in Docker images, and there we have it, which is our PHP web application as well as MySQL database has been created. So to see if it's running correctly and healthy, we can simply type in Docker PS to check if it's running healthy, and currently the status is up, so no problem. So now since both are healthy, let's have a look in our public IP if the application is running correctly. And there you have it. You have finally host your Laravel web application with Docker containers on AWS. And here's the advantage of Docker. Let's say you have multiple containers. You can use Docker Compose for easier management of multiple containers and their interactions. So let's say you want to stop one of the app. Let's say you want to stop the test app right here. So just type in Docker stop test dash app dash 1. So it will then stop the app, and if we try to refresh, now we're unable to access the public IP. And the last tip is I suggest you to stop the instance if you're not using it, as you might use all your free tier hours. So only use it maybe in few days if you need to present for your final year project, or you have an upcoming job interview and you want to showcase your AWS using Docker skill, etc. Because it's to avoid unnecessary billing from AWS. Right, so hopes this helped anyone who wants to pursue DevOps related field in the future and have a better understanding on how to host your Docker containers application on AWS. Right, bye, take care.